Hello, everyone. Welcome you to today's session. It's an important session for you, and we will talk about the CPA exam and especially the Becker CPA prep course that you will be receiving through the program. And I'm happy to introduce Greg Cushion from Becker. Greg is our Becker representative, and more importantly, he is our great friend who always extends his hand for any type of help. So Greg will make a quick presentation on CPA exam and Becker course. And if you have any questions, you can use the chat box or can ask Greg or me directly. And thank you very much for watching this. Greg, you can start.
Great, thank you. So just want to quickly introduce myself again. My name is Greg Cusson, and I'm working with Becker now for over 10 years and Sacred Heart for that entire amount of time. So I'm very happy to be part of the school and assisting with growing the CPA enrollments. So with that said, I'm going to walk you guys through today CPA exam and what that's all about. For those of you who are kind of questioning what's on the exam, how does the process work, how do I get started? And then we're going to go through and do a demo of the review course, which we partner with the school for. And I'll show you how that's utilized and how simple and easy to use it is. So with that said, first thing I'd recommend you guys do is go to this link here I have on the screen, glsr.live/Sacred Heart, SHU, so Sacred Heart University, in today's date, 3/4/22. That's going to get you access to this slide deck here, so you can have it even after the presentation is over. This will be recorded, so obviously you'll have it that way as well, but it's a nice way to get those slides. Let me go live now and start with this here. So, and I apologize, we have a little bit of this Glisser program might be a little funky in terms of me interacting with it. Doesn't let me use the arrows sometimes to go over left and right, but let me see what I could do. 1 second. Let me try this. See if that one works. There we go. Got it to work. All right. So this is the pathway to the CPA exam. Do me a favor, and if you can, enter in your first name, your last name, and your school email. And this way we also have a record of who attended, and we can go ahead and give you updates if there is any updates as well. Quick agenda. I'm going to go through an introduction of what the CPA exam is about, an overview of that. We're going to do an exam breakdown. We'll cover the education requirements as well as the application process. And then we'll talk about sitting for the exam and where that's located, which is at the Prometrics testing centers. And then we'll go through any COVID-19 related updates that I think are still important. And then lastly, we'll do the study plan and demo. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask. For those of you not joining us live, you'll have my email. You can reach out to pretty much any of your faculty or your professors. They all have my email and we'll have my contact information. So any questions outside of today, feel free just to call me directly or email me. All right, so this is the steps to becoming a CPA. Looks simple, but it's time consuming. First things first, obviously, you want to meet those education requirements. And in Connecticut here, it's 120 credit hours to sit for the exam, 150 to be licensed. So that's why many of you are probably considering or in the MSA program, which is great because you'll go through that, you'll get the 150, you'll hopefully pass the CPA exam through Becker, and then you'll be good to go. But you're going to want to get to those 120 credit hours, and then you can officially sit for the exam. All right. In Connecticut, you do have to have graduated. There are some states where you don't have to graduate. I'll dive into what that looks like and where those are located in just a second. Step 2 would be to submit your application off. And I just want to confirm you guys can see when I switch over to this here. I'm going to Google NASBA CT requirements, and I want to go to the NASBA page itself. And unfortunately, I'm going to have a bunch of other stuff up top above that. But if I go to the Connecticut NASBA page, can you see this? Okay, perfect. Just want to confirm. So this is really, if you take away a couple things from today, bookmark this page. All right, this NASBA.org exams, CPA exam Connecticut page is going to really have everything you need. There's an application link right here for you to apply. On the right-hand side, there's score information, score reprint, Connecticut State Board of Accountancy link, the Prometrics Testing Center link, and then also a link to the AICPA. And these, NASBA and the AICPA work together, and you'll see in a second here when I go through, AICPA is the one who's going to set forth the exam dates and things like that. So scroll down on here. This is where you can check out the eligibility requirements. So it is different from state to state. Connecticut requires business law, economics, finance, of which at least 24 semester hours shall be in the study of accounting. Okay, some states don't have that requirement. So if you plan on becoming a CPA outside of Connecticut, make sure you meet those requirements for that state that you plan on going back to after you graduate. I know there's plenty of people that I've met throughout my time here that are in Connecticut, but they're going to be going back to Florida or California or Ohio or something like that. And they're going to sit in Connecticut for the CPA exam, but it's for the state that they want to be licensed in, okay? So keep that in mind, and you'll have to meet that state's requirements, right? So you'll go through this, look at that. It tells you what materials you have to submit, transcripts and whatnot, and then it talks about disabilities for some of you who are worried about that. And the last thing is going to be fees. These fees, a lot of times, if you're working for a public accounting firm, are going to be covered by the firm if the firm offers to pay for the CPA exam for you or offers to give you assistance with the CPA exam. It's a big reason why a lot of students often opt to go work for a public accounting firm. If we're just talking a little bit about career planning here, really, it's pretty smart to go work and get the experience at a public firm. Have them pay for your review. Have them pay for the exam for the exam here. Stay there, get the experience, and then if an opportunity opens up outside of that, you're going to want to move hopefully vertically, not laterally. I mean, lateral moves are okay once in a while, but you're going to want to move up in the chain, and a lot of times that does mean moving on to another organization. But some people I've run into over years have been with their respective firms since they graduated, and they've been there for 10, 15, 20 years and even made partners. So you got to kind of think about this stuff, but I think it's important to go get that experience and then also have this be covered because it's expensive. It takes time, and it's nice to have a firm pushing you and assisting you with that. And it just opens up so many doors down the road for you. I know there are some people that would say, well, I really just want to go into, I got an offer from General, what's a good one here? Otis Elevator, and they're part of UTC or something like that, right? The only thing I would say about that, and again, this is just my opinion based on my years of experience in recruiting and then working for Becker here. If you work for an organization that doesn't require the CPA exam and doesn't help you get through the CPA exam, and you're there for 4 or 5 years, and then you try to leave and go somewhere else, and you're going to be up against candidates that have the CPA exam passed. So if you don't do it because of convenience, because, hey, this organization is not requiring you to have the CPA exam passed, you might be shooting yourself in the foot down the road. I just want to throw that out there. I think it's pertinent. And I try to pepper in some of this advice as I do my presentations, because I know if I was a student and I was sitting for the CPA exam or thinking about sitting for the CPA exam, and I have these options in front of me and it's confusing, I would want at least some sort of guidance and some sort of direction as to what mistakes have others made and what suggestions would you recommend. All right, so that's that. Now, going back up to the top, let's go to the AICPA page just real quick here. All right, bear with me 1 second. Let's slow internet. Let's see what we got. All right, now this is also important to bookmark this page here. All right, this is where you're going to go ahead, and if we, I usually just Google this stuff, but if you do AICPA score release dates, all right, you'll be able to find out when you'll get your actual score once you've sat for it. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here, but I just want to point this out because we're going to cover it in just 1 second here. Let me go right back to presentation. So you submit your application off. You go to that NASPA page. You do all that. Okay. You're going to go and choose your exam review provider, hopefully Becker. You go to the MSA program. You get Becker as part of the program. You work for an accounting firm. They're probably going to pay for it as well. Okay. We partner with all top 100 accounting firms. You're going to create your study plan. I'll show you how easy that is. And you're going to study. That's the biggest thing. Studying for the exam, putting that time aside is the most important thing. You don't have to be a genius or have gotten a 4.0. that's why I think it's so it's so beneficial to go into the MSA program and have the review course be part of it and have it be supported by the school, because you're making time, you're setting aside that time automatically. You're still in study mode, right? Try getting out of school, try going to work for a firm, and then doing the review course. It's really hard. Not saying you can't do it, but there's a pathway for you here that's much easier, and you have a lot of support, and you have a cohort that's also doing it. So I would definitely recommend taking advantage of that. The next thing is, after you've done all this, you're going to get your NTS, which is notice to schedule. Now, that notice to schedule is going to come in the mail. It could be anywhere from 4 weeks to 8 weeks. I've heard it being even longer. It just depends on what's going on. Is it a busy time of year for applications? Is there issues with mail? Is there issues with staffing? COVID, all that kind of stuff comes into play. So don't freak out if it takes a little longer than you expect, but I would recommend, as soon as you can apply for the exam, get it out there, apply. Okay, even if you don't plan on sitting for a little while longer. You don't have to pass. You don't have the timer. There's a timer. It's 18 months to pass all 4 parts. Only applies once you've passed the first part. Okay, so there's no rush to get started right away. Make sure it's optimal for you. Make sure it makes sense. But once you start, you got to stick with it. All right. Last step. Take your ethics exam if necessary in the state that you're going to be licensed in. Obtain your work experience, again, if necessary, in the state that you're going to be licensed in, and then apply for licensure. Okay. Now, I do want to quickly go over here. Let's see if I can. There we go. Is this it? I told you those left and right keys give me trouble. 1 second here. I got to wait for the Zoom screen to also not block my view. Okay, there we go. This is the exam breakdown. 4 parts exam: financial, auditing, regulation, business. If you plan on sitting in 2024, there's going to be an overlap. There is a CPA exam evolution, right? And what is that? Great thing about Google, right? You type in what you have questions to, and it pulls it right up. All right, evolution of the CPA exam. This is the NASBA and the ACPA. They actually have a website directed just towards this. 2024, you're going to have financial, which is under accounting, ACCT, auditing, and the regulation, which is tax. Okay, right? Business section that you currently have to take now is going to be split up into three areas. You'll have the ability to focus on one of those areas. You won't have to do kind of right now. It's just a general mishmash of everything, and there's really no direction in it. Moving forward, you have the ability to have your 4th part be specialized. And by the way, right now, there's no order to take the exam. You could sit for business section first, financial second, auditing third, whatever you want to do. I don't know if that's going to change moving forward, where you're going to have to sit for one of those 3 core sections first, or all 3 core sections first, and then do the other part last. I don't know yet. Might be that way, but you'll have the ability to specialize in information systems and controls, or business analytics and reporting, or like tax compliance and planning. So that's where it's moving. There's going to be a grandfather rule where if you're sitting and you're in process, they're not going to make you switch over. Just be aware of this if you are somebody who's planning on sitting around that time. Okay, let's see what else we got here. All right. Each exam, as I mentioned, is 4 hours long. You must pass all 4 parts within 18 months once passing the first part, and the passing score is 75. This is the breakdown of the 4 sections. I'm not going to go into too much of a deep dive on this. I could spend all day. You're looking at the skill levels, you're looking at the scoring weight, you're looking at the content covered. You don't got to really worry about any of this stuff. Just understand this is financial. It's going to have multiple choice questions, task-based simulations, and it's going to have roughly 50 to 80% of the exam could be task-based simulations. Just be aware of that. All right. Old school, old days, 5-10 years ago, right? It was mostly multiple choice and a few task-based simulations. And even before that, it was even different than it is now. But you got to be aware of this. The task-based simulations are something you have to really understand. Now, the expected study time is 130 to 150 hours. That's about 15 hours a week for roughly 2.5 months or so to get through financial. It's not that bad. This is an example of what a multiple choice question looks like. I'll go into this in detail after, once we go to the demo. This is an example of what a simulation looks like. I'll do an example of that after as well. Okay. Now we have auditing. Same thing. Looks like you're going to have roughly anywhere from It could be 50, 60% of the exam on task-based simulations. And this one, you're going to have a good chunk, could be 30 to 40% of multiple choice. I would consider this one easier than financial. If you have to pick an order to study in, do the hardest one first, because again, last thing you want to do is take financial last, struggle with it, right? Not pass it. And then all of a sudden this countdown timer is ticking away, and auditing, which you took 17 months ago now, falls off, and you got to resit for auditing, you got to study all over again. You don't want that to happen ever. Take the section you think you might struggle with first. Could take you 2 attempts, maybe 3. Who cares? Get it, keep going with it till you pass it. I all the time I have students that say to me, well, I couldn't pass financial, so I went on and started auditing. You're going to have to get through financial at some point. So it's, I think, way worse than to go back to it later than to just pick up and keep trying. We have all kinds of study tools. We have tutoring, we have final review, we have all kinds of ways for you to really figure out where you're lacking in those areas. I would definitely not recommend getting a section, failing it once or twice, and then moving on. Stick with it till you get through it. And then the rest will hopefully come along a lot easier. Now, is that common? No. I mean, the passing rates for the CPA exam aren't fantastic, but listen, if this thing was extremely difficult, you wouldn't have CPAs out there, right? There are some exams that are really hard, but the examiners, what they're trying to do is make sure you just understand these materials. You have a good conceptual understanding of it. You're able to perform the analysis, the application, and the evaluation. So again, throughout my time here at Becker, I've seen a lot of students come along that struggled with this, and they got through it. It's just a matter of actually putting the effort in and studying and setting aside that time. You do that, you'll be fine. I mean, honestly, if you can graduate from Sacred Heart University, you can absolutely pass this exam. I'm telling you right now. All right. Regulations, the other section here, 100 to 120 hours on this. This would be considered, I would say, the second most difficult section to get through. So keep that in mind. Some students want to start with regulation and then they'll do financial next. It depends on what your strengths are. Lastly is this business section. This is going to have a whole bunch of different stuff in it. 80 to 100 hours on this. Most people do this last, but it is going to have some things that could throw curveballs for you. Corporate governance, economics, financial management, IT, information technology, right? Operations management, all the stuff that maybe you really didn't like or you didn't think you need to know is going to be on here. So we do a pretty good job of getting you familiarized with this stuff in the review course. So we understand that there could be some gaps in that knowledge base, and that's what the review course is there for. Back to the study steps here. This just want to reiterate where we are. I think I'm actually on technically step 2 because I'm going to go and talk about the requirements again. This just is a quick, simple slide to show the differences between Connecticut and some of the surrounding states. New York's only requiring 1 year work experience. So it's something to think about. This is another snapshot. Sometimes I won't dive into the actual NASPA page, so I do put it on my presentation here, but this is the NASPA page we discussed. And then here's the third step, which is going to be applying to sit. This is finally, I got to take this slide out of here. This finally changed. There used to be in Connecticut was a testing window state. No more. I'm not even going to talk about it because you don't even want to know about what that's all about. I got to update this because this has changed now. Continuous testing status has been approved in Connecticut. I believe, well, let me just look this up here. Let's see here. Looks like South Carolina is the only state that's still in legislative transition, okay? Now, what is this all about? All right, previous to this happening here, where it's called continuous testing, you had to sit in these testing windows. It was a nightmare, okay? Now, it's very simple. You sit for the exam, okay? You find out when you're, let's see here, was it this page? I think it was. You find out when your score release date is. Once the score is released, if you didn't pass, you can go ahead and sit for the exam over again. No need to wait till the next testing window. There are no more testing windows. So you just have to look and see when the score release date is. This is fantastic because it makes it so that way you don't have to have this wasted time in between, waiting for the score to come out. And if you passed it, and then when you're eligible to sit again, because before you used to have to actually wait a specific amount of time to the next window, and you might burn a month or two, and that was not good. This is really nice. I'm really happy we finally got this in Connecticut. So this is good to go. Sorry, let me just come over here real quick again. I apologize. I just want to, my frustration with what is this, Zoom sometimes, they have this bar on the top, right? So when you go to click on the tabs, you accidentally hit the bar and then it covers your bar where you can't, I'm sure that they know this is a problem. But in any case, that's why I'm being slow on this. All right, so we got continuous testing. We're good to go. This is the ACPA page. If you can't find it within the website, just Google it. Google CPA exam score release dates, and you can pull it up right here. Study plan. This is just an example study plan. Again, if the school has assigned a schedule for you, you're going to follow that. If it's up to you to do whatever you want, you don't need a schedule plan, study plan, but I recommend it. This just shows you that studying 15 hours a week, so this is one section per week, you can get to the entire thing in less than a year, or roughly a year, okay? So not that bad, all right? Now, some students get through it in 6 months. Others, I've heard of other students getting through it in 3 or 4. That's rare, but you're going to average anywhere around, I would say, around a year to a year and a half. It really just depends on how much time you have. If you pass all the parts the first time, if you were able to get through it while you're in the MSA, or if you started working immediately, all these things come into play. Please, please, one piece of advice I can really give you guys is, if you can, and I know nobody wants to hear this, right? If you have the chance to delay starting employment at your firm, at the firm that you have an offer to, and they say, listen, we'll give you the opportunity to start whenever you want. You want to push it off for 6 months, you can do that, so you can go ahead and get through the CPA exam. I would absolutely recommend doing that. And I know you guys are probably anxious and you want to start making real money and you have bills and you want to be part of the real world, right? You want to have a nice car, you want to have an apartment or a house, right? All those things come into play. But believe me, time is one thing that you'll never get back, right? And it's worth every penny that you're going to sacrifice to have that extra time to mentally get yourself through this exam and not struggle as much. And because once you're in it, once you're out there working in the real world, you're on that treadmill, it's really hard to get off. All right. And you end up by having bills and responsibilities and all that stuff. So enjoy the college life while you can, because I guarantee you, anyone my age or older would go back in a heartbeat and do it all over again. Because once you get up here, it's just, you have all this stuff you got to be responsible for. I would rather take those days. I would rather sit in the seats again. But in any case, I would recommend that. Prometrics, COVID-19 changes. This was a big deal when COVID was raging. There's going to be social distancing guidelines probably at most of these centers. It's a state-by-state thing at this point. Some states require masks, some don't. Some institutions require masks. So be prepared for that. You might be asked to have some personal protective gear. There's not going to be any slowdown in testing spots, just because CPA exam is deemed as an essential exam, which means that there's just as many spots available as there was pre-COVID pandemic. Let's go dive into the demo. And I'm not gonna bore you guys too much with this, but I do want to highlight. Hold on, where am I at here? So I have the exam open. Let's see. Let's try it again. So I'm going to log in. This is the login portal. You'll get this as part of the MSA program. You log in, and here's your review course. So let's just start from the top and work our way down. First things first, you will notice this little GC, that's my initials there. I have my profile information over here. Let's click on that first. This is where you can change anything in your profile that you want. Below that, you'll have your exam tracker. This is a really helpful tool. You can track your exams, your scores, your dates, so you'll know exactly when you have to get through the last one. Okay, there's no fumbling around on this. Nice thing too is we have a program with Sacred Heart. Faculty can help you with this because they can actually see your progress. Okay. Materials redemption. When you get the review course, you're not going to sit for all 4 parts at once, right? If something changes, which they frequently does, you'll have sections get updated. You're not going to want to get an outdated textbook or use an outdated textbook. So you're going to have, you'll be able to redeem your textbooks as you go along. You might not get the regulation textbook for 8 months, who knows? And you want to make sure that that's the most up-to-date version. So you'll redeem it, it'll get shipped out once you hit redeem automatically, and you'll have it within a couple of days. This just talks about your devices because you can have a mobile device usage of this, and this allows you to log in or log out of those devices. You have a master reset here that if you want to reset, you're probably not going to want to do this, but this is if you wanted to reset everything. Okay, don't do that unless you really have to, but I don't know why you would, but it's there. There's a getting started video that I could play right now for you guys, and it would do a lot better job probably talking you through the review course than I'm going to do right now, because the gentleman who does it, Mike Brown, he's a master at this. This is his baby. So I would recommend watching this getting started video before you start, and it's 20 minutes long. It'll walk you through everything in total depth and detail on this. Okay, and then you'll always have me as a resource too. You got the about, and then you got your sign out. So over here next to that, you have your notifications. This is going to let you know when anything has been updated. We'll tell you when there's a new software update, content, task-based simulation issue of questions and whatnot. Then you have your context support over here, academic support and customer support. So academic support is 24/7. If you need help on a question, reach out to the academic support. If it's technical in nature, contact customer support. Technical or billing or anything like that, contact customer support. Let's take a look at the left-hand side. Let's expand this. You have your home screen. That's where we're at. Then you have the ability to create a study plan. Super simple to create a study plan. Click on create. And by the way, let me go back here for a second. You have the ability to watch a separate tutorial video on just how to create a study plan right here. Create plan. I'm going to put them in any order here, but you can drag and drop them in any order that you want. From here, I'll be able to put down if I have an exam date already scheduled. I can enter it in, and it works backwards. But I'll put in I don't know, because I don't know when my exam's going to be. All right. And it tells you how often you want to study. So again, check with I would say check with your faculty members and your professors on this if they're guiding you through this as to how often they want you to study. Most students will do the 13 to 15 hours a week, but it's something worth checking into. Depending on the study load that you have and what you have going on, you could probably get away with more. It all depends. And I'm going to start on Monday. Okay. So now it's going to go ahead. It's going to confirm this. Okay, I'm going to confirm it. And then it's going to give me the option next to break this down further. If I have a vacation scheduled in April, I can click and drag F5. And by the way, I'm getting ahead of myself here. See, this says F1, F2, F3, F4. What is all that, right? That's financial section 1, financial section 2, financial section 3. On the left here, it actually says what it is. Financial section 1 is conceptual reporting, framework, and financial reporting. Okay. Well, if you want to double up, you can always move these over and you can double them up, or you can stretch them out, whatever you want to do. Okay. It gives you the chance to adjust your study schedule from here. All right. Now, again, on average, 13 to 15 hours a week, you're going to want to go through, and I get this light going through my head here from the shades. You're going to want to go through and do one section a week on average. Okay. But if you have a more robust study schedule, you might be doing 2 sections a week. 2 sections a week is completely doable, but it is going to take a little more work. It's going to be roughly closer to 30 to 40 hours. Definitely good for somebody who's not working and currently not in school. All right, once I've confirmed that, I can print it out and go back to the home screen, and then I'll have my study planner here, and I can go right to the study planner, and I can follow along from here and make sure I'm up to date on that. Now, if I expand this out again, I have my Skillmaster video library over here. And what are those? Well, remember how I talked about those task-based simulations? Well, these are the accompanying one-on-one instructor-driven lectures and walkthroughs of every single task-based simulation we have. We're the only review course that does this. So you can access that library right here. Now, don't worry, because if you go into the review course itself, right, here's F1 through F, and I'm going to scroll over, F10. Okay, there's 10 sections, so 10 weeks for financial here. If I go into F1, right, actually, sorry, it's on module 2, F1 module 2. We have some simulations here. If I click open those simulations, you can see I have the Skillmaster video link to this particular problem right here. So the library is on the left-hand screen in the main menu, but when you're in these task-based simulations and working these simulations, you have a link to the Skillmaster video. So if you're confused, click on the video, opens up a separate link here. And now you have could be 10, could be 20-minute long. This one's 10-minute long, instructor-driven walkthrough of this particular problem. All right, You can see task-based simulation. I have a bunch of exhibits. I'm going to go through and read these exhibits. I can print these exhibits out as well if I needed to. And then I'll enter in, it's a multiple choice on the left, and then you'll have to put in your numerical values in the right. Okay, it's fill in the blank. Fill in the blank on steroids, right? So, and then you also have a solutions button. So if you just want to print out the solution and work off of that, you can do that as well. But we took it one step further with the Skill Master videos. You also have a clock, you have a timer here, and you have the calculator and Excel spreadsheet. Timer is important because you want to keep track of how long you're spending on these questions. You want to make sure as you move through the course, you're getting better at moving through this in a reasonable amount of time. Now, there's a lot on the screen here, so let's try to digest it real quick again. Back to that left-hand menu. You have practice tests located over here. We'll cover those in a minute. You have your flashcards over here as well. That's pretty self-explanatory. You go into that, you got your digital flashcards. You have final review. If this is included in your review course, you have access to the special final review section. It's extra review for those of you who've gone through all the sections and need a little extra help. Then you have your performance dashboard. This is pretty important here actually because some schools require or some students actually want to know what their this dashboard shows an overview of where you're at on everything. Okay. You can break it down into the sections and see your scores, number correct attempts, all that kind of good stuff. This is important if you're trying to work with a professor or an advisor and dive into where your strengths and weaknesses are. A lot of analytical tools here. Okay. Lastly, you can actually find a question. So if your professor is using Accounting Master, a lot of times you can link up the Accounting Master questions right to the Find a Question section here, and you can dive into this. So if they assign you questions to do, right, if you have a question number, you can put it in here, and I'll actually find it, and you can go through and look at the lecture and see where the textbook takes you on that. Back to the home screen, I'm going to go back into F1. You can see again, F1, see these check marks? As I'm going through and I'm gaining proficiency, everything's going to start being checked off and turning gold. Once you get to the end, that whole badge, FR badge, is going to be a gold badge. It means you're exam day ready. What is exam day ready? It means you've completed 80% of the lectures, 80+% of lecture completion on each unit, 80% correct of all answers on multiple choice questions and simulations on each unit, and 50% correct on answers in the mini exams and simulated exams. That means you're ready. Okay, it's going to let you know when you're ready. If I go into F1 again, it's broken down into modules. So this is, you're supposed to get through again, all this over the course of a week. And you can see exactly how long the module is. So this module is going to be a 15-minute lecture. It's going to have 60 to 115 minutes of multiple choice questions, and it's going to have some supplemental multiple choice questions too. I will tell you this, our course is adaptive to you. So as you go through, the course is going to learn where your strengths and weaknesses are, and you'll have these mini exams and you'll have these practice exams, and you'll be able to gauge them right towards where your strengths and weaknesses are. Okay. Up top, we have outline. Recommend printing the outline off. Very important. Okay. Then you have your pre-annotated ebook. You're going to get a hard copy set of textbooks. As I showed you, you can send those out when you're ready for them, but you'll always have the ebook here. Then you have a glossary over here as well to look through. You can search. This is a new function. This is a nice function too. And then of course you have your introduction video here in each module. So go through modules 1 through 8. You're at the end of the week. Now you have your F1 practice test, financial section 1 practice test. You can do it as an adaptive to you, personalized exam, or you can just do a random assortment. All right. You can also choose the question type and how many you want, and then what content you're covering. You can actually adjust it to cover more than one section. Lots of functions here. Okay, so don't get overwhelmed. Just gonna have to dive into it, and you'll see it's very intuitive. Let's exit out of here. Back to the home screen. As I get through, now I'm on section 4. I finished that. I got my mini exam. This is gonna go ahead and be like it's gonna be an exam condition like mini. So it's gonna simulate the exam-like conditions, but in a miniature format. Okay, it's gonna help prepare you for the longer simulated exam you're gonna have to do at the end. Okay, this is brand new too. Really good stuff. Go back to the home screen here. If I scroll over, I have 3 mini exams, and then I'm going to have the option to do 2 simulated exams on the test. Now, this is a full-on 4-hour-long exam. You're going to get a printout and a feedback as to what your score would have been, as well as your strengths and weaknesses on this. It's really important you try these simulated exams because you're going to be able to see, it's literally a blueprint to see what you're struggling on, right? So rather than on exam day, you go there, take the exam, you haven't done a simulated exam, you have no clue what you struggled with. You got a 70, or what is it? You got a 69 or something like that, right? I don't know where I struggled. With this, you'll be able to see where you struggled, what your score would have been. And now it's not curved, an exam is curved with the examiners, but it's going to give you a pretty good idea as to where you're going to be at, okay? That's really all I can share with you guys. Let me scroll down. There's a couple more things here, some quick links. There's an additional study tools here. If you're part of a live class or a cohort, you'll have this on here. It'll tell you when that is. You can sign up for those. We have a whole live online schedule. So if you want to take part in that, you have the ability to do that. Final review is here, as well as unlimited practice test. And you have your course updates, blueprint, study planner, knowledge base. At the bottom, of course, you have study groups on here. I know how important it is to have resources like that. I ask a lot of questions on I'm on Facebook, and I have some professional groups that I'm a part of, and we always just question is something, you bounce it off somebody and see what they have to say. So this kind of stuff can help. There's some other little random stuff down here too. We have an accounting for empires game, which honestly I haven't demoed in years, and it's fun. It's something different, but I really wouldn't. I don't know. It's something you do if you're kind of bored and you want to, but you still want to study for the CPA exam. And you have your mobile review, so this is all available on iPhone and Android. All right. So as far as my contact information goes, let me pull it up here. Sorry, wrong one again. There we go. I get a lot of emails, so if you want to take down my phone number, call me directly or text me. That might be easier sometimes. Sometimes stuff ends up by inadvertently going to a junk folder, it gets shuffled around. So I recommend, if you really need help, email me and text me and call me. This way, you're not going to get lost in the shuffle. Emails, it can be a little more difficult for me to get back to, just because I usually get about 50 to 100 a day. And not all those are from faculty or students, but a lot of those are coming in from Becker, and I'm getting notified of all the updates, and I'm getting copied on all the other emails. So just want to make you aware, it's not, if you don't get a response right away, it's probably because I didn't see the email. And I would recommend texting or calling me to make sure that I'm aware. Okay. All right.
Thank you very much. And thank you who is joining here today. Greg, I have just a couple of questions. I know those are very common that students might have too. And if you can give like few minutes on those. So one common question I received from our students about the license transferring. If a student takes exam in Connecticut and later needs to move to other states. So is it complicated? What's the process?
Sure, that's called reciprocity. And I wish I could give you a more direct answer on this, but it is state to state requirements. So you'll have to, you can absolutely transfer your license. Some states make it more difficult than others. Some states are pretty easy. So you'll want to explore that in advance. But yeah, you're not going to be locked in or screwed if you become a CPA in Connecticut and 4 or 5 years later you decide to move. Okay, and a lot of times too, if you get an offer from a firm that's outside of Connecticut or another state, they're going to know that you have to transfer your license. You're not going to be expected to be able to sign off on reports immediately when you come down there. It's pretty common.
Yep. Thank you, Greg. And one more question. So I have seen sometimes students start with the hardest one and struggle a bit. Last year, I have one student who took FAR 5 times and couldn't pass. Yeah. So what's your suggestion if a student fails a part, and how the student should approach, focus on that part or start a new part? Any strategy you want to share?
Yeah. Again, I'm not a big fan of kind of giving up after 4 or 5 times you didn't pass it. You're just going to hurt yourself, I think, going through and doing the other 3 exams, passing the other 3, and then trying to go back and do that last part again. It's going to be way worse if you don't pass that last part, because then you're going to have had 3 parts that you did pass, you paid for. I would never recommend that. I know some students do that, but I've never heard of any good results from that. So my recommendation is seek help, get tutoring. It's available. If you do the review course, we can see where your deficiencies are. Take a simulated exam, print out the results, right? Share it with an advisor. If you have resources at the school, take advantage of those. we charge for tutoring at Becker, but we have it available. Figure out what your weaknesses are. There's a reason why you're not passing. Was it because you just don't understand the materials? Was it because you're getting a consistently a 69? What's going on? Why is it a 69 or a 72? Right? I'm just short a couple points. Could be bad luck. You can also appeal your score. So if it's really close, you can try doing an appeal. I'm not sure it's going to work, but you can always try. But again, it's a very rare, I think, to have someone take something 5 times and not pass it. If that does happen, some of those people unfortunately end up by giving up. But I've heard stories of people, having worse than that. John Coulter, who was a dear friend of mine and professor at Western, where was he at? He was at Winu, so up in Massachusetts. He passed away a couple of years ago. And he was one of my presenters. We used to have presenters that came on and did this kind of stuff. He always gave the example of, he had one student that sat for the exam something like 20 times. And I'm not even joking, because she took a part, it fell off. She had something else come up. She was a brilliant person, very smart, promoted at work. But then she got pregnant, and there's all these things got in the way. And he always told that story, and I never forget it. And she still passed. So you know what? If you really want this thing, you'll get through it. There also is the CMA exam. They don't want me saying it's easier. We were specifically told not to say it was easier, but I'm going to go on record and say, if you take it, you'll probably get through that. So if you're struggling on the CPA exam and you need something, CMA is always a viable alternative, and it's going to be nice to have that. But if you are in that scenario, you have us as a resource. Okay, if you're at that level where you haven't passed it and it's been 2 or 3 times, let's talk first. Let's see what's going on here before you make another attempt, because you don't want to be wasting money and you want to be getting more frustrated and wasting your time. So I would say after 2, let's have a conversation at least about what to do. So, and I'm here for the school. This is my job, so I'm not going anywhere yet. I've been here 10 years, 11 years. I hope to be here another 10. So we'll see.
Thank you very much, Greg. Yeah, and thank you for all of your support. And the simulated exam, that sounds really useful. And I'm sure students will figure out their strengths and weaknesses. And I have my last question. So would you please tell a little about the live online classes, how they can schedule it, and the tutoring support that you are mentioning?
Let me see if the schedule pops up. Let me see if they're populated here. Here we go. This should be it. This is the scheduling page. This is right on Becker's website. You will have the ability to contact customer support at 1877 CPA exam and schedule and be part of these live classes if you want to be part of these live cohorted classes. It's, instead of having a pre-recorded instruction, it's actually a live instruction. Okay. We have live online, we have live classroom, and we have online classes too. So these resources are there. As far as tutoring goes, let me see if that's on here too. Yeah. Okay. So one-on-one academic tutoring. Sorry, give me 1 second here. There are private tutors that are available as well that I know have worked out good for some students. But if you wanted us to do a tutoring session, I think it's $149 per session. But if you upgrade to the premium package or the pro package, you get 5 sessions included for free. So that's something to think about. Yeah, but I think this is a one hour live session. You really want to make sure that before you go into these tutoring sessions that you know where you need help. You're going to need help, and you're going to want to dive in. I'm free, so print out, and your advisors are free. So print out the performance dashboard. Print out the summary of what you did. We want to make sure you've done the simulated exam before you come do this at tutoring here. Let's see where you're at, and then we can talk about taking that next step if necessary. Okay.
Yep, thank you very much. Those are really useful and important. I'm sure students will find very important information from today's presentation. And thank you very much again, Greg, for your time today. I will share this recording with my students, and we will be in touch if we have any question or need any help. Thank you.
Sounds good. Yes, and I hope to be on campus on the 31st. So
Sure, you
anyone
can
wants
send
to,
me an email. Sure.
yeah, yeah. So if anyone wants to talk to me in person that day, we'll be around. Hopefully, and
That'd be great.
see you again in person. So thank you again. Take care. Have a good rest of the day. Have a good
Thank
weekend.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.